Hello, and thank you very much for joining us on a very, very sunny morning here. Now, we've had pretty much sunshine the last 2 or 3 days here in the coastal area, facing the Andaman Sea, and we're in Phang, just north of Phuket. But it's not the same for people on the other coast, the Gulf of Thailand coast specifically, down in southern Thailand. Now, it's not just southern Thailand, it's also parts of northern Malaysia, Sumatra, which is the northern island in Indonesia. There's a typhoon threatening Vietnam, the central coast. Also, Sri Lanka has been hit. We're going to be covering all that. So the first 10 or 15 minutes we'll be going through the flood situation here in southern Thailand specifically, but also covering those other areas, just so you get a bit of an idea of what's happening. Now, we should say, I've actually, because I run a few Airbnbs here in southern Thailand in Phang, we've had around about 8 or 9 cancellations the last couple of days. People thinking that it's affecting here, which it's not. But of course, people see the headlines, southern Thailand, they equate southern Thailand with Phang and Phuket, Krabi, and then everything south. But Phuket, even though they had some horrible flooding, it's cleaned up pretty quickly. They're sort of used to it, they know what they're doing, and they can get rid of the floodwaters fairly quickly. Now, the situation down in the far south, down in Songkhla, the province, and specifically around the capital, which is Hat Yai, has been catastrophic because the amount of rain they've had, really nothing would have been able to either prepare them for it, even though it appears that the warnings were not particularly good. I'll get into that in a moment. But the irrigation down there, it's surrounded by a lot of hills. They come down into a flat plain where the town is, or the city. And there's really nothing that they could have done for this incredible amount of rain in a very short time. So let's go through the headlines. Thank you to all the people online, by the way. Now, I just wanted to say that the first 10-15 minutes will go through the story. The rest of this program is really for the people who are on here live. If you're watching this later, then you probably won't be necessarily interested in the conversations we have. We won't necessarily be talking about the weather specifically, but welcome to all those people that are watching it later, and maybe you'd like to join in on a Saturday morning. We usually do this between 9 and 10 a.m. Let's go to the main headlines. Is it working? Yeah, oh, good heavens, it is too. This is from Reuters, and the quote, "We've lost everything, how floods devastated one of Thailand's largest cities." So down in the south, it certainly is by far the largest city. Also very, very popular with particularly Singaporean and Malaysian tourists who come into southern Thailand. Very easy for them to get there. There are direct flights from Singapore, and people in Malaysia just drive across the border. So that's the situation down there. Let's go to the story. And it says, Hat Yai, a city with a population of similar size to Britain's Oxford. Not really sure why they specify that. That doesn't help me at all. I've got no idea whether Oxford is big or small, whether there's 100,000 people there or 10 million. But anyway, that's what they used. And it said it received 335 millimetres. Yes, that is 13 inches. Over a foot of rain that day. Its highest single-day tally in 300 years. Now, they say in 300 years, I'm suggesting that that's probably since accurate records were kept in that area. So, yeah, the biggest rain they've had in 300 years. Of course, it says it's resulted in catastrophic floods. At this stage, at least 145 people have died. I imagine that number is going to sadly rise. 110 of those in the Songkhla province. And let's go to some more information. Somebody said that 2 other residents told Reuters they'd not received clear warnings from local authorities as the incessant rain swelled the water levels, echoing wider complaints of government ineptitude in tackling the crisis. Now, in the media over the past 2 or 3 days, there's been plenty of video of flooded streets, cars piled on top of each other, people who have lost everything with their houses flooded, sitting on their roof being picked up by rescue workers in boats, dogs and cats being fished out of the water. I mean, it really has been a catastrophe, and that 145 people dying will certainly rise. But it appears that there has been a failure of communication, both from local authorities to their citizens in the days leading up to this. Mind you, they probably just didn't know how bad it was going to be. And even the Bureau of Meteorology, it's not necessarily, they said there was a lot of rain coming, but they weren't able to predict this catastrophic rains. As I said, over a foot of rain, 13 inches of rain in the old scale in just one day. Beyond that, there's also been a battle between the local authorities and the central government in Bangkok. And even though the Prime Minister's been down there rolling his sleeves up, trying to show a good face to the local people, there's going to be an election early next year. There has been a lack of swift action from the central authorities in Bangkok, even though the local volunteers have been getting out there immediately in recent days. But it seems they're catching up now. But seems to happen even in places like the US when they have a hurricane and people get flooded. There seems to be this delay between when things happen and when people really need the help and actual help arriving from the central authorities. So it's not just countries like Thailand that suffer these delays in aid and help from their central governments. It happens in other countries as well. So let's go to more of this. The Prime Minister, Anutin Charnvirakul's government has removed Hat Yai's district chief and transferred its police chief since the disaster. So some swift action taken from the central government. They're, of course, now pointing the fingers at these local district and provincial authorities. Probably a little bit hasty in taking that action, but that's what's happened. And the mayor of Hat Yai, and it has a population, it says, of 243,778,000, said he initially misread the flood situation. And he admitted that I sincerely apologise to the people of Hat Yai. I admit that I made mistakes in managing the situation. And it says that Hat Yai and nearby areas have received 630 mil, that's 25 inches of rain over 3 days last week. So it wasn't just that single day with the 13 inches of rain. It's really been over those 3 days. They had 25 inches of rain. We're talking about a lot of rain. And quoting the mayor, the relentless influx of water overwhelmed the city's waterways and drainage system. Oh, sorry, this quote is from the Thailand Geoinformatics and Space Technology Development Agency. And it said that the floods swelled quickly. This is a story from Associated Press, noting that the death toll from the floods in Thailand has reached 145 as receding waters reveal widespread damage. And it notes that more than 1.2 million households and 3.6 million people have been affected by floods triggered by heavy rains in the 12 southern provinces. And when we're talking about those southern provinces, if you can imagine everywhere from, say, Suratani down, but leaving out some of those Andaman coast provinces where the rains weren't as heavy this week. But pretty much everything from Suratani, Patalung, Satun, what else you got there? Songkhla, Narathiwat. This is getting into one of those questions, can I answer all the provinces? There's also Patani, Yala. I think I've covered most of the ones that have been affected. And a government spokesperson says the flooding's killed 145 people, particularly in the Songkhla province, which recorded at least 110 deaths. Videos and photos from the affected areas on Friday show damaged roads, fallen power poles, household appliances and debris washed away by floodwaters piled along the street. Abandoned cars were overturned and stacked on top of one another. apparently swept away by the powerful currents. Seen so many cars that have been abandoned. We're probably talking, if not in the high hundreds, maybe in the thousands, which is going to be an enormous problem for the insurance companies to, one, assess them and then pay out. So this is going to be pushing up our insurance premiums, I imagine, after this huge toll on cars and vehicles down in southern Thailand. Just got a little bit of video here. This is from Reuters and just shows some of these piled up cars in some areas. Somebody's got the drone out and some very good coverage by Reuters. Some of the flood waters have receded, leaving all this debris all over the place. And it says cyclone-fueled torrential rains. We'll get on to the actual weather pattern situation in a moment. But we can see that this debris is just spread all over the city. The city, which is once very popular with particularly Malaysian tourists. The town's economy relying a lot on tourism coming from just across the border. Also, a lot of Thais like going down and enjoying a bit of southern Thai hospitality. So we can see in that Reuters video quite a lot of devastation. Now let's cross to Sri Lanka. And over 80 dead as the cyclone Ditwa triggers massive flooding and landslides in Sri Lanka. And it says that yesterday Sri Lanka grappled with one of its worst disasters as the cyclonic storm Ditwa wreaked havoc, causing floods and landslides that left more than 80 dead amid a trail of destruction and damage. Both Colombo, which I think is the capital, and the next most populous district of Kampaha are under severe threat, prompting officials to urge residents in vulnerable areas to evacuate. More than 80 people have died, while 34 remain missing in the past 3 days. Now, this says that Ditwa unleashed torrential rainfall, triggering extensive flooding, landslides in central hill districts, and major disruptions in other parts that have left other areas inaccessible. Then we go to Indonesia, and flood deaths rise to 174 in Indonesia, and it surges across Southeast Asia. The death toll from floods and landslides on the western Indonesian island of Sumatra this week has risen to 174. Another 80 people still missing. Northern Sumatra province has had 116 deaths and 42 people still being searched for. So the north part of the island, the huge island of Sumatra, which is sort of on the same latitude as southern Thailand, they've experienced the worst of this poor weather and flooding rains. And it says residents in Sumatra's Padang Pariaman region, where a total of 22 people died, had to cope with water levels at least 1 metre high, and it's still not been reached by search and rescue personnel as of yesterday. Cyclone Senya, that killed 116 in Sumatra, is moving towards Malaysia. Okay, so then that leads us to this. Let's check the Venture Sky map, and I'll just refresh this so it's completely up to date for you. And we can see, go back we go, here we go. So we got Southeast Asia and Thailand here, and we should note that most of Thailand is completely rain-free as we speak at the moment. So even down in southern Thailand, no rain at the moment to register. It looks like Thailand doing very, very well, bright sunshine. However, around the region, let's start with this one. So this is a tropical cyclone called Koto, and it's heading toward, tropical typhoon, tropical storm at the moment. If we actually check the wind, there's not that much wind in it at the moment. Now, the thoughts are that it might build, but if we actually project forward a few days, let's go to, where are we? So this is today, and we go through to next Tuesday. Come on, work for me. There we go. So it's barely moving, and by even Wednesday next week, it's not really moving much closer, although it seems to be flinging a lot of rain, according to this projection, towards the coast. So as far as Vietnam's concerned, it doesn't look like it's going to be as bad as people might have thought. It's probably going to dump a lot of rain early next week on the central Vietnamese coast, but it doesn't look like the winds are very high. Now let's go to this next one here, and this is the tropical cyclone. It doesn't actually have a name, but you can see it's there poised off the Malaysian central coast on the Gulf of Thailand, South China Sea side, and that's obviously of concern, but it looks like it's moving away from the coast according to these projections. Let's go through to say next Monday, and it's still off the coast and looks like it's dropping out and losing steam off the coast there, so it may not actually make landfall. And then again back to today, and we can see this tropical cyclone just has already moved through Sri Lanka and now tracking its way north along the Indian coast. So that's the situation as we sort of see it in the lower part of Southeast Asia at the moment, with these three storm systems. But it looks like the worst is over for the one near Malaysia. Looks like Koto is going to run out of steam before it gets to the Vietnamese coast. And this Ditwa has already dropped a lot of rain and destruction on Sri Lanka, and now appears to be weakening as it's making its way up the Indonesian coast. So that's the sort of latest about the storms, the flooding. As far as southern Thailand's concerned, it's all about recovery. It's all about starting to repair and just fix up all the problems. Now, there will be a lot of mudslinging. I think there are provincial elections on in the next couple of weeks. We've got an election here. They drive up and down the road with the pictures of smiling people on the sides of the trucks. So they're out drumming up votes at the moment. So I think around Thailand there are some of these provincial elections. So a lot of the politicians will be using these elections as fodder to blame other people. So there seems to be quite a lot of that going on. Of course, the residents are saying, well, we want food, we want somewhere to stay. What are our kids going to do? I've lost my car, I've lost my house. Can I please have some help? So that's the situation we're in southern Thailand. Sri Lanka's obviously got quite a lot to sort out as well. The northern part of Sumatra already suffering dreadful floods over the past week as part of these storm systems that have been wreaking havoc in both southern Thailand, northern Malaysia, and also North Sumatra. So that's the situation. Now, having said all that, I'll move the iPad to the side. I'll move the camera a little bit closer as we'll go to all your comments and questions. So we're now sort of out of information cycle and we're now into discussion cycle on the program. Just going to grab a quick water. Okay. And, well, yes, dead on something ninja. I can't read your name. Says that's why they call it the wet season and the dry season. Well, sure, but the wet season has been, over the past week, much wetter for the people down in southern Thailand. And as they say, it's been a once in 300-year event. And a lot of people will say, oh, I said years ago they need to do more planning. It looks like even the best civil planning is not going to be able to provide relief when you've got this once in a 300-year weather event. ESC Chris, I think that's Eurovision Chris, says much cooler than normal. They're called storms, Tim, not cyclones. Well, I mean, they can be cyclones, they can be storms. They start as a storm, then they go to a tropical storm around Southeast Asia. They then become a typhoon, then a super typhoon. I think in Sri Lanka and India, they call them cyclones. So they've got different names, but Yeah, the one crossing the South China Sea called Koto towards the Vietnamese coast, that is a tropical storm at the moment. It hasn't yet reached, and I'm sorry if I said that it was a typhoon, it hasn't quite reached the scale of a typhoon as yet. Just moving back through some of these, David Connolly, there was an unfortunate catastrophic failure of a marina in Phuket overnight. We haven't been able to find any additional news about that. David, if you can find any more news, put a link or send me a link and I'll get to that. Obviously, it's not one of the bigger marinas because there doesn't seem to be much published news about it. David Clark. Hello, David, and thank you very much for your support. The whole region is being impacted, half of Sri Lanka underwater. Am I being controversial to suggest global warming or cooling? Climate change certainly has something to do with it, without getting into too much of the climate science. But I agree, David, there's no doubt that we have some climate change happening in different parts of the world. Now, of course, the debate is ongoing about whether it's man-made or whether it's just nature taking its course. I'm certainly on the side that man's presence over the past 200 or 300 years with the Industrial Revolution is part of the story, but it's not necessarily all of the story. But the sea levels are rising and the global temperatures are rising. We know that. As to exactly why they're happening, well, I'll let people who know a lot more than me expound on that. I'm pretty sure that we don't have any climate scientists in the comment section today. That won't prevent people from commenting on it anyway. Thank you, David. Anyway, good morning from a cold Char Arm, but thank God no flooding. Yeah, look, everything sort of north of Suratani has had just the usual bad weather, the wet season. But yeah, cold Char Arm. When it gets just below 20 degrees, Thais put on the hoodies and the coats and the beanies, and I'm actually wearing 2 layers, so it is a little bit cooler than usual. Hope all is well there. Glad to see Steve back safe. Steve's well back. I think he's been back for 2 weeks now. Morning all from Sydney, says Luke Manton. Good morning. I will swap my weather for yours, says Daryl McGee. Morning from a slightly warmer Phnom Penh. This is Eurovision Chris. It was so cold here yesterday. Strong northerly winds and high clouds, but at least no rains and floods. We've got John saying hello from Melbourne in Australia. Always fascinating to me, all these people dropping in and saying hello from literally all over the world. 15 degrees in Chumpon at 5 a.m. this morning. Well, 15 degrees is starting to get down there. I don't do 15 degrees. I don't think it's got anywhere below 20 degrees here. Being near the sea, it sort of moderates the temperature to a degree. But I think some inland, and particularly northeastern and northern parts of Thailand, can get down under 10. And if you're up in a mountainous area, it can get close to or even below 0. Thank you. Carry in on. Lots of Aussies today. Morning, Tim, from a sunny Koh Chang. Yeah, looks like most of Thailand doesn't have any problems with rain as of today. And hopefully all this rain will quickly dry up a lot of those areas in southern Thailand so the rescue workers can get in there and just provide some relief to those people that desperately need it. I should mention Living Waters Phuket. If you are interested in getting behind some of the great volunteer work from Sean and the team at 5 Star Marine and all the volunteers that are associated, they've got the Living Waters Phuket, a proper registered charity. If you go to Living Waters Phuket, I'm sure you'll find a way that you can either get directly involved or maybe even provide them with a little bit of money, should you be able to do so. That's livingwatersphuket.com. Interested in making a donation to help out? Well, there you go. Justin Barber, any ideas on organisations to donate to? livingwatersphuket.com. They've been down there providing some buoyancy vests, hundreds and hundreds of them for people who are providing rescue work and wading through all these waters because a lot of Thai people can't swim. So these buoyancy vests have been very helpful. They've also provided hundreds of their famous food bags, and they got very used to this during other catastrophes, particularly providing some daily sustenance and basic supplies to people living on Phuket during COVID who were basically stuck there, mostly migrants and Burmese workers. Thanks, Justin, for asking. Morning to everyone. It's cool and everyone has a jumper on in non-Y. Michael Avila. I'm really surprised why more houses are not on stilts. I feel bad for them. Well, again, yes, it does flood in southern Thailand from time to time, but nothing to this level. This is a once not only in a generation, but as has been widely reported, once in 300-year event. I'm not sure if you're going to be putting you... It's like me trying to build my house for a tsunami that may come in the next 10 minutes or may not come for the next 10 or 20,000 years. The last tsunami in 2004 along this coast was the first recorded in history. Now, it could have happened 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, but no one here to report it or take photos at the time. So I'm not going to be making my house tsunami proof for something that is highly unlikely. And this type of flooding in southern Thailand around Hat Yai has also been highly unlikely. Having said that, I'm sure people, as they rebuild, will be taking into account that it can flood to this degree, and they may need to maybe be a little bit more prepared. I'm very sure that the local authorities and the weather systems down there will be upgraded to make sure that they can monitor this type of rain approaching in the future, so they can provide people with some better... why have I got that sitting there? With some better warning. Disaster preparedness, says Aussie Rules. Yeah, again, we're talking about a once in 300 year event. Now, Cyclone Tracy, which hit Darwin, Darwin being right up there in the far north of Australia, obviously is going to get its share of cyclones and cyclonic weather. They weren't really prepared for that particular event, even though they had days of pre-warning. So it's hard for these authorities sometimes to track the weather. I think a lot of the weather tracking is getting better. This Venture Sky that I use, I find it very good for not only showing the current weather systems and the amount of rainfall and where the wind's coming from, the strength of the winds, but it can also do predictions, which I suppose are artificial intelligence to a degree, and they're showing the best predictions. I find them to be very accurate. So, and I also, I read what actually happens with the weather with some of these storm systems, and I'm able to see how accurate the predictions from Venture Sky have been. So that's the system I use. There are plenty of others out there these days, these weather trackers, and the various bureaus of meteorology around the world have certainly got even better software and better predictions available to them. I'm surprised Thailand's still getting so much rain. Well, it's not getting the rain now, but yes, certainly from last weekend through to the middle of last week, southern Thailand was really getting a belting, as did northern Sumatra, as did northern Malaysia. So it was all part of that same tropical or sort of typhoon system that wasn't so high in winds, but had torrential rain. It was dragging through the area. One more time, Juan. I said that the Southeast Asian Games football has been moved from Songkhla to Bangkok due to access problems to the stadium. The first match is next Wednesday at Rajamangala Stadium, and the tickets are free. There you go. Been to Rajamangala Stadium to see 2 concerts over the years. Actually a very good facility. Problem with Rajamangala Stadium, a bit like the Phuket airport. You build this great airport or this great stadium and the town sort of moves in around you. So there's not much parking. The roads are tiny, actually trying to get in and around the stadium. Last time I was there, I was sort of scratching my head thinking they did a beautiful stadium, but they really didn't prepare the area around it very well. Prioritise, says Aussie Rules. I'm not sure what that means. That's why it's called the wet season drought. We've already done that one. Let's go to a bit more. A comment from Bill G. Hello, Bill. In Chiang Mai, we seem to have entered the dry season. Great weather for the past week. I saw that Bangkok's already having air quality issues. Maybe the smoky season is beginning early. Well, as we move into December, it's sort of from late December usually to the start of April, what they call that... it's not only the hot season and the dry season, it's also where a lot of the burning off occurs in the plantations up in northeast and northern Thailand, and sadly across the borders, which tends to cause all the trouble. Last year was better than the years before, and I think the governments are not only more aware, but they're certainly trying to do their little bit. So I'm tipping that we'll see less problems with the smoky season this year. Let's hope I'm right. But I do get the feeling that the governments are all trying to do their bit. A lot of that is trying to put some controls on the, well, in the past, unfettered burning of things like corn and sugarcane. We've had 12 centimetres, 12 centimetre hail in Brisbane and other close towns. Yes, I've seen that. You had some shocking hail. And dogs running around with these great hunks of ice that have fallen from the sky. So, thoughts with the people of Brisbane who have had their own flooding problems. It seems that in a lot of these tropical areas that it's not necessarily more rain, but when it happens in a shorter amount of time and there's more rain at once. These weather systems seem to be more intense than they were in the past. So I'm happy for people to comment on that. Is that the depth of the hail, the diameter? That's the diameter. They were about 12 centimetres. They were huge hunks of ice. Imagine if that hit the Juco of your car, it'd put a fair dent in it as well. Cliff Edge, where are these tickets? When I go to the Southeast Asian Games website, it says coming soon. Well, I imagine if you front up to Rajamangala Stadium next week, you'll be able to either buy tickets there or get a ticket, or you just walk in because it's free. Anyway, you'll be able to watch football. When they say football, I imagine they're talking about what we in Australia call soccer. But people who like soccer like to call it football. I get it. It's okay. Don't berate me. Have meteorological records been kept in Southeast Asia for 300 years, or is this some actuary's poetry? No, I'm pretty sure they've been keeping meteorological records. Somebody's been able to refer to some records about the rain. People have been recording the weather and the amount of inches and, latterly centimetres of rain for, hundreds of years. I don't think it's anything new, and certainly records are being kept. So when you say it's an actuary's poetry, I'm not really sure what you're suggesting. You're thinking the media are just making it up. That's okay if you think that's been happening, but you probably need to provide some sort of evidence that it is actuary's poetry. I'm very sure they've been keeping accurate records. Certainly in the current dynasty of kings, Thailand's been an organised country and they've had provincial governments. I'm pretty sure that they would have been keeping records for those 3 years. What's the best way to support relief efforts? Well, as I suggested, livingwatersphuket.com. And certainly I know Sean and his team and the hundreds of volunteers, they've already been taking trucks down to Hat Yai and adjacent areas, and they're on the ground, they're doing their stuff. They do roll their sleeves up. They're legit. They're registered as a proper charity in Thailand. I've seen their work, and I acknowledge the work that they're doing. Texas here, says WW Shadow 7, around 21 degrees. Global community of Thailand travellers. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Love your new haircut, Tim. Had the same haircut for about 40 years. Not sure what you're talking about. Wasana residents, Phuket. Hi, Tim. I'm on my way to your neck of the woods, playing at Quella this afternoon and tomorrow morning. Thank you, Art, and good luck with your golf game today. I was at a Quella yesterday having a breakfast, and it looked a picture of green. So this area, we've had plenty of rain over the past 3 or 4 weeks, but not an inordinate amount. I mean, probably only 1 or 2 days where it just kept on drizzling all day. But we're very lucky here that the rain gets away either into the sea or it gets away through the irrigation systems. But we're very lucky in this community that we don't get any flooding. Welcome back to Thailand, to you, Art. On Bribie Island, this is Thailand, Australia, sorry. Cars have been picked up and slammed against houses. We still don't have power on Bribie Island. I've been there a few times. I think this is the last live show I'll be able to join. I'll be in South America for the next couple of months before my sabbatical ends. It's been great to see the live shows the past months. Thank you, Eurovision Chris. You can always drop in. You can join in if you can find the internet. But you've certainly been a prominent contributor to the Saturday morning show. So thank you and good luck with your travels. Tony, you need to get yourself a generator living out there, man. Not sure who you're referring to. Happy holidays, everyone, says the Snives. Oh, indeed. A happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends. And hopefully, I've seen a few videos showing queues getting into airports, queues at different airline counters. So I hope that's all gone well. Hope you've got to your hometowns, got to your families, got to your celebrations, and you enjoy a bit of turkey. The only time we ever do turkey here is for Christmas. This year I think we'll do chicken because frankly I find chicken a lot more tasty than turkey. And turkey gets very overpriced because really in this part of the world it's only sourced and cooked once a year for a whole lot of Westerners. But yeah, I think this year we'll be doing chicken. Okay, last week's cyclone ripped the roof off the Darwin Hospital. Nasty. I live in the boondocks, with genies and solar panels, brother. Okay, you guys have a little chat together. That will help a little more. Something about football. LOL, football is football with the foot. That's how easy it is to understand. You Aussies and Americans just don't get it, says Antomiro. Yes. Well, Australian rules football is also played with the foot. You can pick up the ball, but you have to dispose of it. You can't just put it under your arm and run with it like they do with American football. But yeah, Australian rules, you kick the football. But we do call it generally Australian rules football or the footy. But I know, yeah, we won't bother with that. Comment, my local pharmacist in Jomtien has said bronchitis has been rife this season. I've got what we call allergic bronchitis. I get it in the wet season. We're making changes to the house to stop the moisture getting in, and we'll be putting in a dehumidifier and an air conditioner, which also acts as a dehumidifier as well. So, yeah, I need to reduce my exposure to the moisture because my allergic bronchitis has been playing up. Luckily, antihistamines and a bit of a puffer have been relieving it of late. I'm fine, don't worry. But yes, I have heard there's quite a lot of bronchitis going around this year. I've had a few friends even in hospital with it. Grunt Max, they sell lots of refrigerators in Thailand and areas of Phuket. the PEA, the Provincial Electricity Authority, will often drop one phase out and reduce power from 220 volts to 110, which also reduces cycles and burns out your compressor. I've never heard of that. That would be totally irresponsible and actionable legally, I'd imagine, if they were doing it knowingly. I've never heard of the PEA doing that, but thank you, Grunt Max, for that piece of information. Tim, you pick and choose the comments, don't you, Tim? But, well, no, I'm just going down through them in order. If I've missed yours, rewrite it. I'll happily read it out. So it's not that I pick and choose them. I don't even have time to read them. They're coming up live. So if you're trying to suggest that I'm filtering out your comments or something, just write what you have to say, Peter, and I'll read it out, okay? Danny Fan, no Colipe for a while. Grunt Max, had to change mansion wiring. Good luck to you living in a mansion. So would totally trip out main breaker at 200 volts. The 3 million mansion may have dodgy wiring as built. Okay, I've heard of some electricians pulling the earth out of the wiring and selling the copper or something, but I think, it's again, with anything in Thailand, any trades, just keep an eye on what they're doing. Just use common sense, use referred skilled tradesmen. I've had no problems with the tradespeople I've been using. Touch wood. Get your koi out on camera. Bill G. I know it's not Thailand, but the horrific apartment fires in Hong Kong deserve a brief mention. It will be interesting to see what the investigations conclude. Thanks, Bill, for mentioning that. Something, obviously a bit out of our local region here, but the death toll from those apartment fires is going to rise into the many hundreds, I'm sure. I think it's already well over 100. It looks like the contractor was upgrading those apartments that were originally built in the 80s, and they were using bamboo scaffolding, which is very popular around Asia and usually a great idea, and very serviceable, very strong, very useful, recyclable. But in that case, of course, the bamboo just caught fire along with the flammable fabric that they had around those apartments. So a very, very sad situation. Looks like they've already arrested a few people, and we will surely hear more about that. But that was an awful catastrophe. A lot of those huge, tall Hong Kong apartments are built in the area sort of between Hong Kong and the airport. When you get on the very fast train there, the airport link, you past hundreds of those huge apartment complexes, yes, all built very close to each other. Thanks, Bill, for mentioning that. Cleo Genomic. I was electrocuted by an electric stove cable yesterday while stoned. Okay, here we go. That green netting was cheap Temu crap flammable materials. Well, yeah, it certainly was flammable, and it wasn't the right material to use. I don't think they would have bought it on Temu. But certainly I think if you're going to be cladding those buildings with some sort of fabric to stop things flying out from the construction, you need to make sure it's not flammable. And look, a lot of people will sort of zoom into the Chinese issue on this. Hong Kong, of course, is a slightly different situation, even though it is part of China these days. But again, we can see that there's been a few corners cut on this. And I think at the moment, whilst they're sorting that out and starting to play the blame game, let's have our thoughts for those people that may have been stuck in there and have not been found at the moment, because that tragedy is still unfolding. I've had Thai electricians wire in connector and breaker for 5 kilovolt diesel genset. So, okay, Grunt Max, you're getting into some very specific issues, and clearly you've had problems with electricians in the past. But yeah, look, I think there are corners cut in some Thai electrics. As I said, I was quite careful. The electrician we had here, I just sort of kept an eye on what he was doing. I was very happy with his work. It was very neat, and everything seemed to be done very well. And well, 2 years down the track, all the electrics are still working here. Also glad to say we get very, very, very few blackouts. I've had a few brownouts where the power supply has dropped a bit, but yeah, we haven't sort of had any catastrophes as regards blackouts. I've got these little units that I put in the beach houses, which have got a fan in them with a light and a 10-hour battery. So if we do get a blackout, at least they'll be able to keep a little bit cooler and have a light to get around the house. And of course, we've got candles as well. Okay, are we still getting messages, or has it sort of come to a grinding halt? Just bear with me for a moment, folks, and I'll just very quickly just reinstigate the... Here we are. Okay, Danny Pan, how much of the floods have affected the tourism? Well, as I said, just in my case, I've had quite a few cancellations over the past 3 or 4 days. Just resetting things here. So we're not even in the affected area, so I'm pretty sure there would have been quite a few cancellations, particularly in southern Thailand. Well, I'm talking real southern Thailand, down in the deep south. I think a lot of Malaysian and Singaporean people who used to like coming into just across the border or flying into Hat Yai for the weekend, there's going to be a big drop in that. But in the next couple of weeks, I would say that those people would be very happy to see the tourists return. And that's probably the best support that people would be able to... Okay, so I'm getting distracted by reading the next message. I think they'll be very happy to get the tourists back as soon as possible. That's the very best support you can provide. No problems in Phuket at the moment. The flooding they've had, it wasn't the worst flooding they've ever had, and they sort of clean it up pretty quickly. It's something that happens every wet season, but Phuket's fully operational. I have to say I've been to the airport 3 or 4 times over the past month. That airport, I've never seen it so busy. So there are a lot of people arriving in Phuket for the high season. I think they're going to have a record high season down there. We're still getting, when we get a cancellation, we're finding that those spots in our calendar are filling up very quickly again. So plenty of people heading into this part of Thailand for the high season. As far as we're concerned, we've got bright blue skies today, and let's hope that continues. Okay. Cliff Edge, thanks for that. Just registered. As far as getting to Rajamangala is concerned, I always get a grab to about 1 kilometre away and walk to the stadium. Wow. How did I get there? I think I caught the BTS and then got a grab or something like that. I think the BTS, the airport link, you take the airport link and then you get off at one of the stations. Excuse me. My allergic bronchitis. Do you have a tropical bird in your room? Asks Dam. A tropical bird, like a macaw or something? No, I don't have any tropical birds. Can you hear something? No tropical birds. We've got fish, we've got cats, we've got a dog, we've got a few squirrels. We certainly don't have any tropical birds. Why do you ask? Good plumbers are hard to find here. My family owns a 5-story hotel. Okay. I'm very lucky that I've got good tradespeople I've been able to find, and they've been a great resource and made my life a lot easier here. during the renovations and just the ongoing maintenance, which is very important. It's not a joke. I can hear a bird squealing in the sound, says Dam. I'm sorry if you can hear squealing. It doesn't seem to be anything registering on the sound meter when I stop talking. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, a lot of poor quality Chinese electrical fittings as built. Careful before investing in shiny new digs. Grunt's really on a tirade today. I'm sorry you've had bad situations. I'm very lucky when I read stories like this that I haven't had any of these quality control problems. I think, I've taken a lot of care to supervise the work. I've been very involved with, things like painting and just, carrying materials, buying materials, unpacking materials. So I've been in and around the house. I think if you're doing it remotely, it's going to be much more precarious, maybe. But I've been very lucky. Sorry, Grunt Max, you've had a bad time. Now, whoever was accusing me of picking and choosing the comments, he hasn't got back to me. Peter. Get back to me, Peter. Ask your question. They're hearing your squeaky gate with people coming and going. Yes, I have a very squeaky gate. It's a great big heavy metal and aluminium gate, and it's on rollers, and it's very squeaky and noisy and heavy. Now, I could electrify the whole thing. I could make it, lighter and more efficient. But the way I see it is I'm in and out of it, 10, 20 times a day, and it's good exercise. So I always make sure I use a different hand each time, and it's good upper body, bit of weight work. So I've actually designed my thinking is that I'm going to use that for a bit of exercise each day. Tim, I see an uptick of news regarding immigration finding violators, overstay workers without authorisation. Are you seeing this in your news search? This is from Bill G. Well, look, I think over the past 10 years, there's been generally a much bigger concentration on people coming into Thailand from outside, getting their documentation right. Now, of recent, there's been a change to the way that people can do border bounces. People considered by the Immigration Department not to be real tourists, like the average tourist, we've shown the proof, they come to Thailand usually for 10 to 12 days. The Thai government says we're giving you a 60-day visa exemption as a tourist, so you can stay up to 60 days. And they're saying if you want to then cross the border and come back, you're not really a true tourist, and you're encouraged to get a proper visa which allows you to stay in Thailand a long time. It also, when you apply for that visa, gives them more information about what you're going to be doing, where you're going to be staying, what your intentions are. So I think the Thai government, are well entitled to know where the foreigners are. Now, when it comes to migrant workers, there's been a bit of a crackdown on migrant workers as well. They're also encouraged to get the required paperwork. There are occasional amnesties. I don't think there's one at the moment. But at the moment, there are plenty of migrant workers in Thailand working. More from Myanmar at the moment because Cambodians are finding it much harder to get across the border, if at all. And the ones that were here in Thailand before they closed the borders were encouraged to go back home. So that's a bit of an ongoing situation. Cyclone Fina is the name of the girl that hit Darwin last week, Brother Tim. Okay. Thank you very much for the name of that cyclone. When I was thinking about Cyclone Tracy, that was back in I'm going to get this wrong, 1974, was a devastating cyclone in Darwin at the time. WD-40, yes, it needs a bit of a WD-40. It needs a bit of engine grease. We're talking about big bearings on this skate. Stainless steel, was well built. It's chunky, it's heavy, and of course it gets filled up with dirt and stones because when we have rain here, they congregate to the lowest area, and that's the rail that runs along the bottom of the gate. YouTube working fine here in Australia, just a lot of pop-up ads. Sorry about that. I set the advertising to low, so you should get the lowest amount of ads possible. So I'm sorry if you're getting more than that. Okay, what else we got there? Have the Thai government developed resilience plans to mitigate the effects of more intense weather events as predicted by climatic models? Asked Richard Edward. Well, look, I think there's certainly a lot more awareness. Bangkok is basically prepared for floods any time of the year. The rising sea levels, and then added to that the problem with the flooding waters in north and northeastern Thailand. They all make their way down the Ping and the Chao Phraya rivers, and they end up in that delta. And Bangkok is much more prepared for flooding than it was in the past. And generally, with technology and the way that information is spread, people are getting more warnings. There's the gate now. So I think the answer is yes. Perhaps not as quickly as some people might expect, but it's certainly happening as far as I can see. Bill G's back. Last week you said that you could not justify putting solar on your rentals. Have you seen the new solar proposal from the government? I think it's a 50-50 deal. I haven't seen that, and I'm not sure whether it's valid for foreigners as well. Now, I would say, just checking the time, even if it was a 50-50 deal, I think it may not necessarily still be in... I don't know, I'll check it out. When I last checked, the cost of the solar, and it's coming down all the time, and I'm very inclined to want to use solar, but the numbers just didn't check out, to a fairly large degree. And whilst electricity remains relatively cheap and inexpensive, I'm sort of sticking with that at the area. There's also the cost. The initial investment could be up around 200,000 baht, and that is, quite a hefty investment. At the moment, my investment's probably better put into other parts of my little rental business. But thanks, I'll certainly check that out. Bill, a couple more. Why is that when roads are flooded, people must go drive? Oh my God, we're out of Scotch tape. Must get some now. Tony, both sides of the equator are getting heavy weather. Yes, it seems so. Peter hasn't come back to us with his question. Peter, we're sort of running out of time. I'm very patient here. I read out your comment. When you're suggesting that I'm being selective, I don't know if you mean that in a sort of a malicious way, but I don't have time to pre-read the comments. I read them as I see them, and I try and read all the comments as best I can. I'm in Thailand, where ad-free YouTube is about $4 a month. Yeah, I've got YouTube Premium. It's very, very inexpensive in Thailand, and my experience on YouTube has improved a lot. Even if you buy YouTube Premium, a proportion of your monies is still going to the creators. So they're not being left out, and you're getting, in many cases, a better experience. So if you are in Thailand, it's certainly, I think, a good investment. Cleo Genomical AI says, stop avoiding my questions. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm heading off. I'm going to go and have a quick puff. I've got 4 check-ins today. The sun is out. I'll be getting motorcycles ready and car rentals, and it'll be all about. But thank you very much for dropping in. Buy me a coffee if you find any of this useful, or if you'd like to support the program. Otherwise, thank you for dropping in today. Thank you for joining in the chat. Hopefully your weekend is top-notch. Peter, your comment hasn't come in. Big up Timmy, you ate a legend and been following you from the days of Thaiger, says Tony. There you go. Luke Manton, I pay 51 $51 for YouTube Premium in Australia, $4 in Thailand, $51 in Australia. Have a great weekend, everybody. It's been great having you with us, and I enjoy these little chats for an hour each Saturday morning. And I'll go and relieve my chest and get some fresh air, and hope you have a great weekend. Steve and I will be doing the program tomorrow, so you can look forward to a grumpy old man around about 10 or 11 in the morning. Thanks for dropping in, and we'll see you later. Happy weekend.